Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. And today we are going to talk about the Europa League final in the in this week, and probably the biggest match in, of course, European football before the final of Champions League. That is Europa League final, as I stated before, and the match between Tottenham Hotspur and Manchester United, an all English final between two teams which are currently sitting at 17th and 16th in Premier League. And this is definitely, in the recent history, one of the worst performing teams to be playing a final amongst each other. That is what this Europa League final is. And with the final being quite near on in the 21st of May, I have this genuine question, a genuine thing which I was thinking about, and based on the discourse which I've heard from Manchester United fans and, of course, the Tottenham Hotspur fan, is and whether this Europa League, whosoever wins this Europa League final, whether should they be proud of this Europa League? Well, the short answer is yes and no. See, the fact is these two teams and their history and the recent struggle is something that we have to talk about. One of the key reasons because of which they aren't performing really good in their leagues, being at the 16th and 17th position, which is definitely unacceptable position for any big club if they are to consider themselves with the current situation, is that the one of the key reasons, as I was discussing, is the stubbornness of both the coaches in different ways, to be honest. Whereas Ruben Amorim in Manchester United brings a new youth, new energy, but with that as well, he brings his own stubbornness that he's going to play his own system. The same goes for Hotspur with Ange Postecoglou playing his own system, and there be clips out there of how he treats the fans and everything. Whosoever comes back at him when it comes to the criticism, and this is the biggest reason because these two guys want to play their own system, but given the injury record and the kind of player profile which they have, because the amount of injuries which Spurs had, and also the squad depth which they had, and because of the players, the profiles at which they had players, given the fact that Ruben Amorim came mid-season, a little bit before mid-season from Sporting CP, doing amazing job there, and being there, doing his job, but trying to play three at the back, 3-4-3 position basically, which he plays, and trying to shift this team to play that. It has definitely hampered him in the Premier League and his performances. Though the kind of performance, the kind of like the intensity with which Manchester United has been playing is pretty insane. They are the only unbeaten team currently in Europe. That's something to be praised about. They have done remontada against Leon, and they have definitely dominated Athletic Club Bilbao. So credit where credit's due, man. They've had an amazing Europa League campaign. Same goes for Hotspur, who, of course, defeated Eintracht Frankfurt at their home 1-0. You know, at it was a away game for Spurs at Frankfurt's home, and they defeated him. And after that, they had a game against Bodo Glimt, which they won comfortably, and now they're here in the final. So credit is where credit is due. As I said, they both have done amazing in Europa League, but because of the fact that they have done amazing in Europa League, can we forgive the league form? What they have performing in the league in the past 4 months in terms of performances, these two teams have been in the same form of a relegation team. Trust me on this thing. Of teams like Leicester and Ipswich, who are currently 18th and 19th, who are of course relegated from Premier League now, had, let's say, a better midfielder and a Premier League class defender, or maybe just forget about Premier League class midfielder in both of their midfield, and probably a decent forward. Even though they had both the teams had a decent forward in the name of Vardy and Liam Delap respectively, it's just only two players. They needed two Premier League class players in the team. And I'm telling you this thing, they would have United and Spurs for their money in terms of the relegation match if they were a little bit better. Trust me, the way they play, both the teams, they are getting smashed by West Ham, and if I remember correctly, West Ham, pulled a 4 over Man United. The levels at which this team is playing, like these two teams has. This is kind of an unscripted, unfiltered video by me. I haven't thought more about it. If you ask me personally, see, as I said, the answer for this question is yes and no. But for me, the no is a bigger one. The reason, see, I support Atletico Madrid, and alongside that, in Premier League, I also support Liverpool. It's kind of weird, but these are the two teams which I support. Some people may are not able to relate to the fact that a person can support two teams. But in the past four, if we talk specifically about Atletico, past 4 seasons we haven't won a single trophy. So I know how much I'm longing for a trophy for Atletico to win it. And with United, it on the verge that they could win 3 consecutive trophies. It is something impressive. As a fan, you definitely love your team hit the glory, but at what expense? As I say, what do you expect from a big team? You expect from a big team to be competitive from multiple fronts. Playing amazingly in Champions League, being pretty much in the top five, top four of the league. Being there, giving some battles, like giving some competition in the leagues, in the cups, in the cup tournaments. That is all you would expect. But can you really forgive your team? When you give, like, for the sake of one, like, there are always teams who put preference, who sacrifice, and who prioritize other tournaments and other, but nobody falls as bad as United and Spurs have been in this season. Okay, and that's, personally, to me, that's unacceptable for any fan base. This should be unacceptable, and no matter how much you may like the fact that you might win a European trophy, you should be ashamed of the season. I'm being honest. The the performance which they have given in Premier League, this put the performance of 2022 to 2023 seasons, Chelsea's 12th finish, to shame. Like to be a victory, to be honest. Like, be kind of an achievement which they pulled off in that season, finishing 12th. And here we are with these two teams near relegation zone, at the bottom. It's and if I ask me personally, Spurs have never won a trophy since 2008, but they were competitive. There have been times they have finished around in mid-table, 8, 9 something, but they have been competitive. Their average position is definitely around 4 to 5. And if you talk about Manchester United, see, when I was a kid, I was in single digit in terms of age, let's say 9, 10, 9 or 10 or 8 or 9, 11. At that point of time, I used to have images about the clubs, because I wasn't following football that much. It was vaguely following during that Sir Alex Ferguson era. That clubs, who are the clubs to beat, top teams in football. There you had Real Madrid, then you had Barcelona, and from England, I used to think Manchester United is the biggest club, because they were at that point. How far the mighty have fallen. That's a nice saying that goes, like, that is something which is really relatable to Manchester United. The team. Well, what are things at stake at the Europa League? There's one thing: Champions League. Why? Because if any of this team win the Europa League, they'll get into Champions League. They'll be able to spend more. They'll get the money from Champions League. Hence, they'll be able to improve the team. Right? So there are things at stake, no doubt. And there's one hypocrisy which I would want to say. It's because of the fact that it is Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur that we're discussing, and that is the reason why I'm making this video. But if it were another club, let's say like Crystal Palace have won FA Cup in this season, and next season they're gonna play Europa League. So if Crystal Palace was the one who was in the final, and they were around at 16, 17, I'll tell you one thing: 95% of the people out there who were not a fan base of the other team playing the final would want Crystal Palace to win, because in the name of the beauty of football, right? Whereas in these cases, we're just saying that whether winning the Europa is enough to just simply say this season has been successful or something good in this season. But and the kind of expectation which you should have if you want your club to be a top level club, I would say I think not. Okay, but credit, man, one of these two teams is gonna win the Europa League, so it's not something which I'm gonna take back. As I said, winning a trophy is really important, and it is the reason why we a lot of us tend to become a fan of a specific club, because we have seen that club win a trophy in front of us. So yeah, man, that's all I have to say. And Spurs and Man United, all I have to say is, if any of you guys win the Europa League, as the time that I'm making this video, the Europa League final is roughly around 24 hours from now onwards. So if any of you guys win a trophy, the fans out there to whom my video is being reached, I would say, celebrate the hell out of this trophy like you do with any other trophy, of course, for at least one day. Specifically, Spurs, man, you definitely deserve, because it's your first trophy since 16 years. But after that week or a day is over, you should remember what has happened in this season, because it's basically putting papers over cracks some huge cracks in the system which needs to be fixed. So that is all for this video. It was more of an introspection for me from my side rather than being a more of an experimented, researched, and well-oriented video. So if you're still present till now, till the end, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and do like and share and comment below what you feel. What's your opinion on this topic? And I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Take care.